One of the great features of recording with Universal Audio's Unison plugins is that you can commit or print the effects to the audio as they're being recorded, and this saves on the DSP usage in your UAD cards down the road, but it also allows you to make a commitment to your sound. And in my case, when I'm recording my drums, I like recording with some of the SSL E-channel EQ, and although I'm going to need to process it after the fact, at least I can commit some basic settings that I know I'm going to want to get my kit sounding good. And in this video, I want to show you what I use on my SSL channel strip plugins for my drum tracks. To start with, I'm going to record some drums, and I use two overhead mics, kick, snare, and a hi-hat, with no Unison plugins, just the built-in preamps so that we can compare it. So just to put things in context, I'm recording with a pair of Avantone CK7 large diaphragm mics on top as overheads, and I have them set to cardioid mode. I have a Sennheiser E602 kick drum mic. On the snare, I'm using a little bit of an unconventional mic, the MXL V67G, instead of the ubiquitous SM57. And on the hi-hat, I have a small diaphragm Audio-Technica condenser mic. So let's get started with some drums with just the built-in preamps, and I'll be recording wild with no click, and I'll let Logic do the work of calculating the tempo for me. And now let's have Logic calculate the tempo, and we'll listen back with the click, and we'll hear it dry now. And all I've got going on my mix here, I got everything completely flat. I got a little bit of reverb, I got a little bit of the UAD EMT 250 just to give it a bit of a room ambience, but let's listen back. And now let's take a look at recording a similar type of part with some SSL E-channel EQ applied on the Unison channel strips. I'm only using the EQ sections in these plugins, none of the dynamics. So on the overhead left, I have a boost at about 100 over here, and in the low mids, I'm cutting at about 500 a little bit, and I'm cutting at about 6 over here, and then I'm boosting on top at about 10. Over there, and on the other overhead it's similar, although some slightly different width settings. I'm boosting at 100, cutting here at about 500. Here I'm cutting at around 5 again, and then boosting here at 10. Now on the kick drum, I've got much bigger boost going on down low at 50. I'm cutting at about 250 over here, and here I have it set to 3K with a little bit of a boost for the click, and then here I'm boosting a little bit up high. Now on the snare, I'm leaving the setting here 200 and boosting to get some meat on the snare drum. And I've got the brown set over here. I've got brown there as well and brown there as well. And I'm setting it to about 500 or so and then cutting. And then in the upper mids, I'm boosting, as you can see over here, at around 5K with a nice wide bell curve. And then here I have it set to 10 and I'm boosting again. And finally on the hi-hat, I have an extreme roll-off. And again, the brown setting over here, I have it set to about 750, 800 or so, and I'm cutting. And then up high, I'm boosting very slightly up high at around 6.5, and then at around 12, another slight boost. So let's see what this sounds like. And we'll let Logic do its adapt tempo work, and it's calculated the tempo here. And let's listen to this with the click for a bit. So it's calculated the tempo, but more importantly, let's listen to the quality of the preamp sound with the SSL EQ printed versus no EQ. So here's a little bit with and without. With. Without. So I'm a big fan of printing with the effects. Sure, I'm going to need more processing when I mix this, but I've got a starting point with some good basic EQ to build on.